Yo, what is up, boys and girls? The Mirko. Welcome to the Mir recap episode that I have been postponing for a few days. Yes, this should have been yesterday, but I was a bit too tired after the cast, so yeah, just decided to take some rest. Today is a rest day for all of us casters while we wait for the knockout stage to start. We'll have 2 days of rest technically. Tomorrow's rehearsal, so just to update you guys on what's going on and why we have a 2-day break before knockout stage. We're also going to be moving from the stage you saw from the group stage to a big one. I think it's going to be the same layout as what we saw from the League of Legends stage that you guys probably saw in one of my vlogs. If you haven't already, then you'll be in for a surprise because it's really nice. The stage is really great. So yeah, let's talk about the top 8 teams right now. It's also kind of a recap video, guys. This is not a prediction video. I'll upload my prediction video tomorrow. This is more on their road to making it to the knockout stage and giving you my 2 cents on maybe why some teams have chosen, you know, the other when it came to the when it came to the group draw or knockout draw. So yeah. Let's start things by going with ONIC Philippines, the last team to qualify. No, that's AURORA, but the second last team to qualify to the knockout stage. ONIC Philippines run in day number 3 to day number 5 of the group stage. Well, obviously, we know of their loss against AURORA. We won't talk about that. That was already in the previous episode. But we get to talk a bit more of their match against Area 77 and Homeboys here. I think the match against Area 77 for ONIC Philippines was more of just like a whatever match. Like, again, no disrespect to Area 77. It's just ONIC Philippines wanted to experiment some more. They wanted to try out some new picks, and they did in this matchup. They picked a Kagura in Game 1, picked a Feramis in Game 2. It really felt like ONIC Philippines, even though, yes, they've already recognized what makes them strong again. Okay? They are not going to play utility jungles on King Kong anymore. I think they've learned that the hard way through the loss against AURORA. And now they're going back to just playing carries in the jungle. But again, still a dash of experimentation with Kagura in mid. I don't think we're going to see that against the top tier teams. Again, sorry to A77. But then we get to see their match against Homeboys. But before that, in the match against Area 77, I don't know if it's just me or you guys felt it as well. ONIC Philippines' grasp on the early game is definitely kind of shaky. You know, it's definitely shaky here in MSC 2025. It could have been like it was just a random question thrown out for the match against AURORA Philippines because people think that AURORA Philippines is just good. Maybe that's why, you know, ONIC Philippines didn't have a grasp in the early game, but against Area 77 and Homeboys, that was very visible. Against these lower tier teams, they were struggling in the early game. So that's something that ONIC Philippines will certainly have to fix later on in the knockout stage, because especially against Homeboys, it's not like they had a bad composition to contest for Turtle 1, Turtle 2, you know, the early game. They actually had a pretty good composition for Turtle 1, Turtle 2. In Game 1, you can see on your screen, it was a Badang, Phoveus, and just Badang, Phoveus, Loyi, and Lancelot should technically guarantee you Turtle 1. Game number 2, it was a bit better from Homeboys to contest Turtle 1 though, so I'll give them the benefit of the doubt there because they had a Fanny. But yeah, still very shaky early game performances to, again, amazing recovery that they were able to do. I think in the drafts, they have completely stopped doing the random experiments. You can say it's still experimenting because Loyi was picked up here, but I'd say it's actually not an experiment. This is a still very, very good pick. It just comes down to how you utilize it. I was also a hater on the new Loyi. I'll be honest with you. I haven't been too fond of the changes of the Loyi in the patch, but both ONICs have shown how you can utilize it now after the changes. It actually just acts as kind of like, it literally is a diversion. Like before, it was a diversion in the way where you teleport. It's just teleport ambush. It's not much of a diversion. You know, diversion is the name of the skill, by the way, if you guys are wondering what I'm talking about. But now it's an actual diversion because with the enemies now being able to see you on the map when you pop the ultimate, it literally makes them overthink. It literally takes away from what they were planning. So the diversion is now an actual diversion. That's how you use it in the game. A lot of times, friends would just use a diversion again, to divert the enemies instead of actually teleporting members. And then other times you see them actually teleport members. So again, it's kind of like a mind game ultimate now. There are more ways to counter it, but there are also more ways to utilize it. So yeah, I think ONIC Philippines are en route to an amazing knockout stage. Unfortunately, they are going to be matched up against Team Spirit. Now, early game, ONIC Philippines, not too good. Team Spirit are kind of like just good everywhere right now. And yeah, so let's talk about Spirit. Do I have anything else to say about ONIC Philippines? Individually, ONIC Philippines have also kind of been shaky, I guess, in the group stage. Like Brusco hasn't been as on point as he was in the M6 World Championship. King Kong, Prince, everybody. But I think it's unfair to compare this version of ONIC Philippines to their M6 counterparts. It really felt like M6 was their meta, and this one is definitely still a meta that they're still trying to learn, trying to adapt to. King Kong even said in the interview, right, that there's still a lot of things that he needs to work on, and the team needs to work on, especially when it comes to coordination, calls, synchronizing with each other. So yeah, ONIC Philippines definitely not as strong as we expected to come here. Or maybe I actually expected them to be a bit lower on the tier list. If you guys remember, it's just, yeah, unfortunate. But now let's move on to Team Spirit, because if we had some doubts about ONIC Philippines, like Team Spirit just stomped through everyone, really. Like against Homeboys, they were able to play it really, really clean. Against Dianfeng Yaoguai, I don't think we can use that as a reference. There's just one big concern for me for Team Spirit. It could be the fact that they just got an easy draw. Yeah. Homeboys and Dianfeng Yaoguai in Group B, they definitely avoided, and this is not their fault. This is just how the bracket works. They avoided some really, really strong opponents. I did expect Team Spirit to be, well, I put them at number 1 in A tier, just below ONIC Philippines. But after the group stage, unlike a lot of people back at home, am not going to put them up in S tier and say that they are already automatically better than ONIC Philippines. Because again, they had an easy road to making it to the knockout stage. Going up against Homeboys and Dianfeng Yaoguai is definitely not an achievement for me. I believe for Team Spirit isn't an achievement either. So the big proving grounds for Team Spirit will be in the knockout stage. I'm struggling to say stuff about Team Spirit just because it was, again, an easy run. It felt like they weren't pressured at all as well. They weren't really pushed into a tough spot by any of the teams that they met. Again, Homeboys and Dianfeng Yaoguai. What I can say is every single member seems to be in sync. I guess that's the edge they have over ONIC Philippines right now. When ONIC Philippines are kind of struggling when it comes to executing early game plans, Spirit has a good grasp on that. But again, against Homeboys too, it was kind of like longer games for game 1. Could be an experimenting game too, because they also picked up a Guinevere in the jungle. I don't know if this Guinevere jungle thing is a new prio pick or new meta jungle pick after banning out Lance, Fanny, and Yi Sun-shin in the first phase, or if it's Team Spirit still just trying stuff out. Again, that's why it's so hard to gauge how good Team Spirit are based on their group stage performance, because it's so easy. God damn. Yeah, well, the reason they chose ONIC Philippines is because they've already also said this, by the way, in interviews. And Bomba has been very vocal. ONIC ID apparently have been tearing through scrims. Scrim results might have, or probably is the reason as to why Bomba and Spirit chose ONIC Philippines. ONIC ID seemed like the tougher team to beat in scrims. And I think from the knockout stage, group stage performance, it kind of reflected that too. ONIC Philippines kind of struggling in the meta, still trying to find their ground, losing out in the early games a couple of times as well. So yeah, shout outs to Team Spirit. They seem to be really good contenders. I favor them over ONIC Philippines a bit just because I want to see a new champ. Yeah, but you'll see my official prediction tomorrow in the MSC 2025 prediction video. Yeah, not much to say about Spirit, unfortunately. The individual members are still kind of the same from last time we saw them in M6. I feel like at the time they were already very, very strong. It was just when they got to knockout stage, Hiko and One Shot weren't ready for stage stuff because they never experienced a stage that big before, and it definitely hurt them. So I think now it's time to move on to the next team, which is SRGOG. Ooh, this is good. I like the fact that we get to talk about SRGOG. Ooh, SRGOG. They had a very, very, very shaky run in the upper brackets of their groups against Mythic Seal, against Virtus Pro, dropped games there, dropped games everywhere. And then they were sent to the lower bracket semifinals where they met against CFU. And they demolished CFU. That's not something I expected. I did expect SRG to go through to the knockout stage, but I didn't expect them to demolish CFU. I thought maybe they would lose a game against CFU. Yeah, no, they were clean. They really improved from, all the mistakes that they made up in the upper brackets. Against VP, they improved. We saw that improvement against Mythic Seal, but it wasn't enough to beat Mythic Seal. So then they got dropped by Mythic Seal. But after that, yeah, they are back to the normal SRG, I would say. Like the way they play the early game, the way they capitalize in the mid game. It's just very, very clean from them. The draft has been very SRG still. The draft hasn't really changed as much for them. It's still kind of relatively the same, where they have some very unique picks that they want to pull out. We saw this against CFU with the Dairoth pick once they were up against Uranus. And it's good. I like it. I love these kind of picks. And they have gone to play the Yisun Shin. They have picked it up themselves. They have, again, understood that, okay, maybe we just need to continue to play Skies on Assassins. Similar to King Kong, I don't really like to see Skies on utility. I want to see this guy on Assassins. He's a master at Assassins. Pretty mid at utility. I think most of the junglers we have in in MSC 2025 are like that, aside from Carl. Carl and Kai are probably the only ones who are like, holy shit, they're really good on utility too. But yeah, SRG were definitely the second. It made sense to me when who chose them? When RRQ chose SRG in the knockout stage. Why? Because there are two teams that looked the shakiest in the group stage. AURORA Turkey, we'll get to them, and SRG. So it was really just between AURORA or SRG. In the end, it was AURORA who was picked first by TLPH. So SRG were picked by RRQ. Yeah, it's very, very simple. That's just literally what it is. They all want to avoid ONIC ID because they probably have heard the same things and probably have faced the same things in scrims. And yeah, scrims are very different to stage, but it is the only way that they can gauge their opponents here before meeting them on stage, and it is a single elimination bracket in the knockout stage. So it'll be too risky for them to even try out picking up ONIC ID, Scrims are not everything, but for picking your opponents, I think it is a very crucial factor to put into account. You want to avoid them first. You want to make it the top 4 before you meet them, maybe, right? So yeah, let's move on to the next team, which is RRQ Hoshi. Yeah, RRQ Hoshi, they are looking really good. Again, this was something we already spoke about in the previous mirror recap, how strong they were, how good they were. But we didn't actually speak on their match against AURORA Turkey. Now, for RRQ, I think they were really shaky in game number 1. I think game 1 was super, super shaky by RRQ, mainly because of the draft. They tried something out. They still stuck, by the way, to their strengths, which I fucking love. I don't know if I might just be assuming here, right? But I have been very vocal in saying in the last few weeks before MSC, the build-up for MSC, that RRQ, the only reason they lost in the grand finals against ONIC ID was the fact that they just didn't play towards their strengths. Their strengths being Edok and Dairen as the boys that can carry, the boys that need to play make, and Sutsujin needs to be playing more passive roles. Utility jungle fits really well. Toy can just play normal Granger 1-1 Harith marksman, and he'll do really well. But as long as, again, Dairen and Edok get their picks, they're fine. We see that even when they try to experiment with Game 1's draft, Masha and CC Gold, Masha XP CC Gold, they still had Dairen on Masha, a carry. They still had Edok on a Kaja, a playmaking hero. So they still stuck through what their strengths are. And that's what we've been seeing throughout that series as well. Game 2, Game 3, they decided, all right, let's not try to counter the Yisun Shin and Ruby anymore. It's a bit too risky because we can get dropped down into the lower brackets. We don't want that. And they locked in. They said, oh, we'll just ban the Yisun Shin. We'll just ban the Selena. We'll just take away the strong picks from AURORA. And then after locking in, after going with their natural composition with, again, Dairen on a carry, Lapu Lapu Game 2, Sutsujin on a utility jungle, Rins on Eve, Cho for Edok. It just clicked. Game 3, same thing again. You see how good RRQ can be when they have a game changer on either on either Dairen man or Edok man. Game 3 was a good example of that. They picked up a down for Dyran. The team was losing. Well, they won turtle 1. They proceeded to lose as Aurora made some really good plays around the map. But then Dyran changed the game again. That is why Dyran is so scary. Am I going to say, you know what? I'll just push it. I'll push it in right now. Best XP lane this tournament is Sanford, for sure. That's my boy, right? But the second is Dyran. This guy is amazing. I am a big fan of Dyran, have always been since he was in Rebellion, and we finally get to see his potential in the world stage. I really hope they do well in the knockout stage, and if they continue to play through their strengths, I don't see why they can't make it the top 4. Hell, I don't see why they can't even win the entire thing. That's what stopped them from winning MPLID. Not trying to play, not leading onto their own strength. So, yeah, hopefully they do what they haven't been able to do in MPLID for the last 2 seasons. Let's move on then to the next team, which is going to be ONIC ID. So, ONIC Indonesia. To recap their run here, they were able to beat Virtus Pro after getting dropped by Team Liquid Philippines. And again, the matchup against Team Liquid Philippines was so close. Absolute cinema of a matchup, dude. Game 1, firstly, Amon pick from out of nowhere. No one saw the Amon pick coming. I don't know. I don't even think the teams who've scrimmed them know about this pick, because if they did, it probably would have been leaked and Amon would probably be, but yeah, they showed Amon it was a way to counter the Ysun Shin. Why? Because as a jungler, you can't bring flicker. You cannot blink on a Ysun Shin either, so you only have that traceless. Traceless skill 1 is a great way to dodge any form of CC, but what you can't dodge away from is the endless shards, Amon's ultimate. So this is already like a way to counter Ysun Shin from back in the day. It's a way to counter marksmen who don't have blinks for the longest time, or even mages who don't have blinks. So I love the fact that ONIC ID actually brought that up. They still had to come back though, and I think because it was a comeback against TLPH in Game 1, it was actually more impressive to me. Lutpi. Oh, man. Remember just a season ago, where I said Rez was the better XP lane when it comes to playing utility, tank picks. He's more of that player. But when the meta shifts back to carry XP laners, that's when Lutpi slides back in. Because, man, that was a CC game that I haven't seen in a while, dude. Like, the guy was popping off. Lutpi, such a good player when he's on these carries, damage-dealing carries. And you get to see him shine all the way. Amon doing well, Keyboy doing solid stuff as well. Severo really consistent in the gold lane. Again, improving from the last time we saw him. Severo, his edge over CW, the reason he is the one playing for ONIC right now is because he's much more aggressive. But we have seen in the past how that aggression can actually hurt the team. He's learned from that. He's improved from that. Like, he knows when to be aggressive. He knows when to be passive, when to be reactive. I think that is the growth that we've seen from Severo in his run as a pro player so far, and it is looking really, really good. Game number 2, he did really well too against TLPH. Again, TL got a get out of jail free card because Oheb found an insane spear of destruction. Clutch as heck, yes, but these are the things that ONIC ID will learn from. They will learn a lot from this matchup. They won the early game so hard. It was I really liked the draft, aside from the fact that after picking Hilda and Arlet, I thought the Hilda would go Roam and the Arlet would go XP, just because they already had a Fredgen. But because they had to swap it, I don't know why. I guess because they think it's a better matchup against the Glue, maybe. Yeah, I probably have to ask Yeb and ONIC about that too. But yeah, they decided to swap it out, and it worked out still. Can't really blame them. A few steals here and there. TL, Clutch, Carl TZ to fucking goat on Lancelot. Absolute cinema of a game. Not much to say there. They were just out-clutched by TLPH, really. Because fundamentally, that game should have gone to ONIC. But, hey, TL does TL things, maybe. Game 3 was ONIC completely disrespecting TLPH in the drafts, I feel. Going for... going for the Esmeralda early and not picking up Lancelot. Esmeralda was picked red 3 on red side, and I didn't like that at all. The only reason the only reason I can think about, like, when they picked it up is the fact that, like, it wins out against Lapu in lane hard, level 1 to 3, and maybe they're setting up prio for the whoever it is in the jungle later on, which ends up being Amon, picked up in red 4 or red 5, I think, to get Prio. But they couldn't do that. Amon just couldn't walk up at all. They had TL completely winning it out. Yes, ONIC had ways to deal with the 1-1, but it wasn't really seen because they lost trio mid so hard. So TL just snowballed out of control. ONIC disrespecting TL again with the draft. I think taking the simple road to countering TL that ended up not doing too well. So yeah, that's it for ONIC. I still think they're... Oh, wait. Then they went down below against Virtus Pro. Not much to talk about there. Again, ONIC have kind of gone back to playing to the meta. They picked Baksha and Fredra in 2 games against Virtus Pro. Game 2 was a comeback, but even then, it really felt like they still had the control over the game. It wasn't like too crazy or anything. And they picked Valentina, which I'm not really a big fan of that game. But anyways... ONIC are looking to be very, very strong. We've heard how teams are even scared of them, and that's the reason they were last pick in the knockout stage draw. So, yeah, I'm expecting them to be very, very strong in the knockout stage. They have looked a bit shaky when it comes to drafting, but that's always ONIC in the group stage. They have looked better as they qualified against VP. They went back to just normal meta, nothing too crazy. Nothing crazy at all, actually. They went with the standard, and they have been winning very quickly, very stompily. I trust in ONIC. They were last pick for a reason. The teams know better than us. And unfortunately, Mythic Seal were the ones be the last pick. They were the ones unfortunate enough to be up against ONIC ID. I wish good luck to Mythic Seal. I hope they can do it, really, because I want to see a new region win. Even though ONIC are my boys, I would love to see Mythic Seal, Spirit, Aurora win here at MSC. New region. We would love to see that. All the Mirko would love to see that, right? But yeah, it is ONIC ID. So that's... yeah. Now let's move on to Mythic Seal, I guess. Well, there's not much to recap about Mythic Seal, so I'll just say Mythic Seal, explosive team fights, amazing mechanics. They fall short to themselves. Their own drafts sometimes hurt them. Their own overconfidence in the game when they're already leading hurts them a lot. The fact that they a lot of times don't have a composition to fight early game means that you are giving away one of the biggest win conditions in the meta right now to your opponents, which is, again, snowballing out of control from the early game. Against ONIC ID, all of those need to be fixed. Again, this is a very short conversation and topic about Mythic Seal, mainly because we already spoke of Mythic Seal in the Mir recap before this when they qualified to the knockout stage, and you guys can watch it again. Day 1 and 2 Mir recap. This is the group stage Mir recap, aka the top 8 breakdown. So we're gonna move on straight to Aurora, Turkey. Aurora, Turkey, brother. Let's talk about Aurora, Turkey. I have a lot to say about Aurora, Turkey. They lost to RRQ, sure. I think RRQ system stylistically just had the better matchup. I actually also predicted RRQ to beat Aurora, predicted the score as well. I only got 2 predictions wrong the entire group stage. So give me a round of applause for that. That is, I think, pretty good. Let me know what your predictions were. And if you say 100%, that's fucking bullshit. There's no way you predicted Aurora to beat ONIC Philippines, you liar. So, yeah. Stylistically, it was a bad matchup against RRQ. RRQ are really good against teams like this, against like Aurora, who... For me, the reason they beat ONIC Philippines is because ONIC Philippines are also, in this meta, a mid to late game team. They rely a whole lot on their mechanics, on team fighting to win games, and Aurora are really good at the same thing, mid to late game. But when they are up against a team like RRQ who are just disciplined, because that's how I see RRQ right now. They're more of a Filipino team than the Filipino teams participating in this tournament right now, because that's their whole game plan. They put 2 guys on playmakers that can game change, but if they don't need those 2 guys to change to brawl themselves out of a sticky situation, they will just stay disciplined the entire game in the early all the way to the mid and then ending 15-16 minutes. Yeah, that's RRQ. So yeah, predicted them to lose against RRQ. I honestly think the draft was it was good in game 1, obviously. They had the Yi Sun-shin, they picked the Selena, but then once the Selena got banned, once the Yi Sun-shin got taken away, they were lost. TNZ had no assassins to pick from, they were lost. They pick up Uranus in the jungle. Can we just stop with that, by the way? I hope no team goes Uranus jungle in knockout stage, or I hope someone finally wins on Uranus jungle in knockout stage, because I am not a fan of that. I'm not even a fan of Uranus and XP. I feel like everyone who's picked up Uranus jungle XP has lost. Has anyone won on Uranus XP? Once, I think Aurora were able to win against Team Flash. We'll get to that. Oh my god, that's even worse. We'll get to that. So yeah, game 3 they just got outplayed by RRQ. They had an okay draft in my opinion. Game 2, oh, Benedetta last pick, Uranus jungle, Angela against a fucking Baksha. Oh, let's go to the next match. Aurora versus Team Flash. We saw a glimpse of how Aurora could draft really bad in the match against RRQ Game 2. Aurora versus Team Flash was a battle of who made more blunders, 1, and who drafted worse, 2. I was so disappointed. This match is the worst series I have watched, I have casted for in MSC 2025. It is ridiculous how bad everyone played and how bad they drafted. Game 1, Aurora, they picked up a composition that had just no prio, Turtle 1 to Turtle 3. A composition with the sole win con being, let's scale for the Moskov to get items, for the Lancelot to get items, for us to have no prio whatsoever. And you know what's crazy? Flash had like a 9,000, 8,000 gold lead, took all the objectives, took all the turrets, and still fucking lost. Holy shit. I was so flabbergasted by that matchup. Geez. Yeah, I don't even want to talk about game 1, right? They won ultimately Aurora because they got to the late game. They got to their very one-dimensional win condition. I'll just say, if Aurora try to draft like this against any of the top teams, they are fucked. They almost lost against Team Flash, is all I'm going to say. No, as a strong team, there should never be a case where you almost lose against Team Flash or you lose game 2 against Team Flash. Because game 2, oh my god, how could it get worse? How could it possibly get worse from game 1? Oh, I'm fucking malding just thinking about it. Oh, dude. Aurora game 2, okay? Let's see what they went for, right? You guys can see on your screen as well what they went for in game 2. They went Juicin, Franco. My boys, they went Juicin, Franco, Gushin. You know, I'm not even going to shit on the Gushin because I want to see new picks. The Franco, though, when the Kalea was open, though, was so stupid, no? Am I the only one here? We're in the big 2025. We're the big 2025 right now. And we still are drafting mids with no prio? What are we doing? Really? You're up against Team Flash, who've gone Baksha, who've gone Kimmy. Now, Kimmy in itself, just the Kimmy pick alone, is already almost insta-prio in lane up against the Juicin. You pick up a Franco to pair up the Juicin, leaving the Kalea open to the other side. Team Flash pick up the Kalea. Kalea, Kimmy versus Juicin, Franco. You are never going to win prio in that matchup. I don't know how they thought this was a good idea. Plus the Gushin. Then what the fuck is Franco and Juicin going to do without mid-prio? They come in late to the turtle fight. They walk up and they get poked down. They get out-sustained. They get shat on by the Baksha too. Remember, this is a Baksha on the other side too. And they decide to play this calm. I am flabbergasted as to how fucking stupid this draft is. I don't even want to talk about coaching staff or anything because I don't know who's drafting for the team, right? They did really well against ONIC Philippines. There was a reason I didn't also say anything about, MTB and Dexstar are here and they've brought massive improvements because I want to see first. We know the pattern, MTB and Dexstar, they are really good sometimes, but then they do some really fucking stupid shit sometimes in MPL Philippines even. I don't know if it's them or if it's Bagdalsev because game 2 against Team Flash, hot take is MLBB, idiotic MLBB drafting. Game 3, then they went back to their style. Thank goodness they did. Selena got left open. That was, again, really stupid by Flash, leaving Selena open. They just don't want to make it to knockouts, dude. Team Flash are just here for lols, honestly. Oh my god, this series had me going on and on and on, bro. It's so bad. It's so fucking bad. I'm sorry for molding so much, but if you watch the series from the drafts all the way to the game, you would know how fucking tilting it is just watching this whole series. And it was set up by a horrible game 1. Yeah. I actually will, though, give Aurora the benefit of the doubt. You know why? because I think this could be a genius strat. Yes, I was malding so hard about the drafts, I called it stupid, etc. And now I will give you guys an explanation to why I think it's actually a smart move. If it is true, if it's true that they did this, all right? If my assumptions are true. So what I'm assuming right now is AURORA knew that they were just so much better than Team Flash, and they just decided to do that. They decided to make everyone in the knockout stage, the people who will do the draws, think that, oh, look, AURORA are very shaky now. They struggled against Flash. They almost lost. Just so that they get picked first. Just so that they can, again, save a whole lot of their strats for later. The real strats, not the bullshit we saw against Team Flash. I hope that's the real reason. Because if not, then there is no explanation for how 3 fucking coaches worked on a draft as shit as Game 2 against Team Flash. I want to give them the benefit of the doubt, and I will give them the benefit of the doubt. MTB, Dexstar, and Bagdell Self, please do well in the knockout stage, all right? Like, you don't even need to win against TLPH. Just, like, make it close against TLPH, and I'll be like, all right, thank goodness. So what we saw in the group stage was truly just experimentation. You just wanted everyone to think you were bad. But yeah, I don't know. That's the only justification, the only cope I can find, because I really want AURORA to win. I think these guys are all so good, dude. Every single one of their team, like, everyone in their team is so good. And they've shown how good they could draft, too. Oh, yeah. Hopefully, guys, let's pray that AURORA did not just do that out of pure, like, let's hope they actually were saving strats and were trying to act bad just so that they get picked first. I don't know why you would want to get picked first, because you will be up against TLPH, probably the strongest team in MSC. Yeah, but there's no other reason that I would think that you would go for that draft in Game 2. I'm sorry. Oh, man. Please, AURORA, do something in knockout stage. I'm rooting for y'all, man. Please. All right. Let's go to the last team. Not much to talk about. We already spoke about them in the last recap as well. Best team in MSC 2025. Tier list, S tier, number 1 for me. Does that mean they can't lose? No. Apparently some idiots around on TikTok have been clipping like the tier list and saying like, oh my god, look, who beat someone? Like, what's the massive upset? Oh, AURORA beat ONIC Philippines. And like Mirko's tier list was AURORA Philippines below ONIC. Oh, sorry, AURORA Turkey below ONIC Philippines. Look, the tier list is wrong. It's like, bro, it's a fucking tier list. I don't know, but like everything else is correct. Yeah, but TLPH I still think is the best team in MSC 2025 right now. They are looking so clean, and mainly I think the scariest part about them isn't the fact that they are clean. It's the fact that they are clutch. Losing Game 2 against ONIC ID, early game, and coming back with Moskov steals, coming back with Carl TZ popping off, and coming back off of a Game 1 where they were winning early. They should have tilted after getting, after ONIC came back. But no, they're so mentally strong. They're so clutch that makes them even scarier, in my opinion. So, yeah, I think they're going to be a force to be reckoned with in the playoffs. I don't think there are any doubts for me as to why I put them at S tier number 1. I'll still keep them there right now. So that's it for the mirror recap, guys. I hope you guys enjoy. Hopefully, you guys share the same opinion. If you don't, let me know what you think in the comment section down below about all the teams. Maybe about AURORA too. Do you agree with how bad the drafts were? Do you think, nah, Mirko, those drafts were actually really good, you're just dumb, and they lost the game because Flash are just the best team in the world? I don't know. Let me know. But yeah, thank you for watching, guys. I will see you guys tomorrow for the MSC 2025 prediction video. Yeah, peace out.